Ladies and gentlemen,
everybody wants the prize, but nobody wants to pay the price.
Can they be pushed? Do they have a sense of urgency? Do they want to be great?
And then, of course, you look at them and be like, yeah, right.
Everybody wants to be on your team when you're on top.
I saw the angel and the marble, and I carved until I set him free.
Go be somebody, bro.
But the most important part of the Be Somebody journey is the resilience.
Welcome to the Be Somebody Podcast, your real and raw destination for all things entrepreneurship, leadership, and culture. One of the top-rated business podcasts in the world. Now give it up for your host, Be Somebody Inc. and BSB Group International founder and CEO, Kash Shaikh.
Welcome to the Be Somebody Podcast. We are deep into season 2 here with my boy, Herbie Pilata. What's going on, brother?
What's up, Kash?
Man, I just want to start the show by just sharing the anxiety and the trials and tribulations that I went through to get to the show today, right? Because I got here right at showtime, right? Yeah. And I was coming in. We had a full day since 6 a.m., phone calls, Zoom chats, all that stuff, meetings, assignments, projects, decks. I wanted to get my run in. I go for a run like 45 minutes before showtime, get my run in, go upstairs, take a shower, still sweating, you know, when you're hot, it's humid and you're still sweating. So I said, let me go shirtless, right to the podcast studio shirtless. And I go out and I look outside my backyard to find my dogs who are out there and I can't find my freaking dogs. and hopefully people know who are following the show and following us on social. I've got 2 dogs, Love, our American bully mascot of Be Somebody, the OG. And then I got Cuban, who is a mini golden doodle. And Herbie, trust me, just stay with me, man. This all comes full circle.
I'm following. I'm ready.
Everything comes full circle when you follow your passion. Just stick with me here. So then I go out looking for my dogs. I can't see them. There's some rustling in the west wing of the backyard. And then I see my dogs slowly coming out, each with Yoplait type yogurt boxes in their hands, like they're double fisting these Yoplait yogurts coming out from the gate. And I'm like, what the hell is happening over here? I start to sweat more because and it's happening now, just reliving it. I start to sweat more because the anxiety is starting to creep up even more. I'm going to be late. I can't find my dogs. They're eating Greek yogurt, apparently. And then I go over there to see what the hell's going on. And my neighbor is just feeding them these buckets, these mini buckets of, I guess, doggy ice cream that are full on I don't know what they are. I just honestly have no clue what doggy ice cream is. All I know is that the American bully Love has the most sensitive stomach of any mammal on earth. And she was just fed a toxic combination of dairy, peanut butter, probably chicken feed. I don't know what the hell is in there. So I'm going to be cleaning up for the rest of the evening.
I have no idea what's going on at this point.
That's how I feel right now. And I apologize to our guest, Canal merchant from Facebook. It's going to be amazing. We're going to talk about it. But I hope I didn't push listeners and users away just based on this opening here. But here's the crazy part. Then my other dog comes emerging from the woods. And he has 1,000 times less hair on him than he had 24 hours ago. And I was rudely awakened and reminded that I sent him to the groomer yesterday. And he had a full-on, golden doodle afro when I put him there. Yeah. And when he came back, the dude looked like he aged 90 years. And he has been skinned. He has been skinned.
I saw that on an Instagram story last night. I showed my wife. We had no idea that was actually what Cuban looked like.
When he came in, I was like, this ain't mine. Yeah. Something got mixed up. And the beauty and how this all comes full circle, aside from people who are watching the video episode on besomebody.com and see the sweat pouring down my face.
The glistening.
The glistening is that Canal merchant also has a golden doodle.
And there it is. The full circle moment.
Give me that. Okay, so hey, we talking Facebook today.
Let's talk Facebook.
I'm pumped to talk social media, man, because Herbie, we know that social media consumption, usage, and prominence has massively grown over this crazy year of 2020. There are crises and times of public outcry, outreach, need always drive people to social media. And we've seen that this year. And obviously Facebook is the mega of all platforms. When you look at the numbers overall, Herbie, when you look at the numbers overall on social media, 51% of U.S. adults have reported using social media more since the onset of the pandemic. So half the country is using social media more. And that's according to eMarketer. And then a study by Kantar of over 25,000 consumers found that engagement on social media has increased by 61% compared to the normal engagement rate prior to COVID-19. So more people are using it, and when people are on there, they're engaging more. They're liking, they're commenting. There's more action happening on social platforms. When you look at Facebook in general, Facebook, like I said, is still like the alpha omega, the Don Mega. 2.6 billion monthly active users on Facebook, 1.7 billion daily active users on Facebook. I mean, that's crazy. Facebook reaches about 60% of all internet users. 70% of US adults are on Facebook, so 7 out of 10 people, as we know. And it's funny because you hear all the conversation of people using Facebook less, the transition to other platforms like Snapchat and TikTok and things like that, the millennials, the Gen Z moving off. Still, 70% of the US is on Facebook. It's still a core platform for me. And obviously, when we talk Facebook, we also mean Messenger, we mean WhatsApp, and we mean Instagram. So that conglomerate of social media properties, and obviously Instagram's on fire, but the Facebook platform itself is still doing really well, still growing. Users spend an average of 60 minutes a day on Facebook, an hour a day. Herbie, you spend 12 hours a day on Facebook.
Yeah, my
right?
weekly screen time says a little bit higher than
yeah,
60
you're upticking, and I'm still sweating. By the way, it's still pouring down. It's not stopping. The nothing is stopping this. This is. Imagine if I was like giving a presentation like at a school or something. This shit would be crazy, man. I mean, I would want you to just to like shoot me with the arrow, bow and arrow, Jordan. Just take me out of my misery if this was live. But now it's not. It's just us, and I'm just gonna soak it in, literally, figuratively, literally as well. 96% of active Facebook users access the platform from mobile devices. Which is a powerful stat as you see the full-on move to mobile across the world for social engagement, marketing, digital marketing. Facebook's ad revenue was $17.4 billion in Q1 of 2020. And 86% of U.S. marketers were using Facebook in Q1. We know all the back and forth that happened, some of the boycotting, some of the calls for change and action, which has been a part of that journey with Facebook. I mean, Facebook has had legendary success, meteoric success, also a good share of controversies at times. But honestly, every big company has. And I think that a testament to that company, though, is they are still growing. The stock has been doing well. And it just become, as we all know, part of the core fabric of all of our lives. But anyway, man, forget the stats. I'm just pumped to talk to our guest tonight, Kunal Merchant, my brother from the University of Texas. Actually, literally my brother, my fraternity brother from back in the day. An amazing person, an amazing leader, a great friend. I'm so pumped that we got him on the show because Facebook is busier than ever, and he's had just really an inspiring journey, and he's always been a huge supporter. And Herb, one of the biggest things I love to do on our show is reconnect with people from our journey, our Be Somebody journey, who believed in us and supported us. I always say, never forget the people who believed in you when all you had was a dream, and Canal was one of them, man. So I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped to talk to him.
Awesome, Cash. Well, I'm super excited. We'll talk Facebook, talk some social. Let's do it. Let's welcome to the show a leader with a bachelor's degree from the University of Texas at Austin. For the last 13 years, this marketing and social media strategist has worked on a diverse set of brands, including Walmart, Coca-Cola, Samsung, and Chase. Today, he leads product strategy for global agency and consultancy partners at Facebook. Please welcome, from New York, New York, Kunal Merchant! Josh, we got him on the line.
He's on the line.
What's up, Kunal?
What's up, man? I need some music. I'm ready to go.
Let's go. Let's go, man. I mean, y'all don't know Canal's a world-class DJ, Herbie. Did you know that?
I did know that.
Did you do your research?
I did my research.
Did you read the bio of DJ'd over 1,500 event shows and club nights across America alongside Grammy Award winners? Herbie, did you know that's who we got on the show tonight?
Cash, did you know he also produced events for Jay-Z, MIA, and Kanye?
Did you know that Kunal is best friends with Jay Sean? You know who Jay Sean is? Indian hip hop. It's like every time Kunal posts. Wait, Kunal's on the line here in a second, but we're gonna talk. Every time Kunal posts a picture with Jay Sean, I just get that like envy, that deep, deep jealousy, and I wish I was there. Hi, Kunal.
What's up, Kunal?
What's up, fellas? How you doing?
Man, it's so awesome to have you on the show, Kunal. Man, how's everything going out in New York?
Honor. It's actually going pretty good. I think New York right now is the prime example in this country, unfortunately, with everything going on around with COVID, and so things are starting to open up. Unfortunately, this Saturday I'm flying to Texas, so it's about to be back in the lockdown.
Well, man. Well, before we get into your career, your background, Kunal, and obviously talk everything that you're doing today, I'd love to talk about that because I know, again, one of your personal passions is bringing people together, music, entertaining, culture, and I always know from your social feeds and all my FOMO. Usually, when you're like hosting your events, you're on rooftops in NYC. You know, you're DJing. You're on boats out in the Hudson Bay. So like, how has that been for you to have this transition now with the pandemic to not have that release?
Man, I don't even know if I have words to describe it. It's just honestly speechless. It's really difficult to describe how a city like New York, and Cash, you've been here a million times. You know the energy that New York has, and to see the city sapped of that energy. So it's a little bit of a transition, but you know what? If it takes a little time for us to heal and to figure things out, it's definitely worth the sacrifice.
Has it made you question or reevaluate living in New York since it's been the epicenter of everything going on?
It's had me thinking about my family. I have 2 young kids and a dog, as you know, and my wife, and we live in Manhattan. And what makes me think about the future is the notion that a dense population like New York could be in harm's way with these type of pandemics, right? I think the city has done a great rebound job. But you guys remember, just a little while ago, you saw that chart was just going up and to the right in the wrong way, you know? And so you think about the future in these situations, we're not even at phase 2 of what this virus looks like, right? We have about a year, at least a year, maybe longer before we get this vaccination. So it definitely has me thinking about that. And it has me thinking about my kids' school, because this last half, we just had homeschooling. And let me tell you what, you will not appreciate teachers more than when you have to be in their shoes and teaching your kids every day. Right. It is grueling. It is grueling, man. And so I think the homeschooling, actually, if you had to say the catalyst for us to think about where we should go, maybe it's homeschooling. Right. It's the hardest thing we've had to deal with. So it has us thinking about it, but we're not leaving anytime soon.
Well,
we're gonna stay patient.
It's interesting, Kunal, just talking about you getting on a flight back to Texas, where you and I both grew up, and you know, everybody in Texas, I mean, the real estate is a whole different ballgame. And when people have been locked down in Texas and some other parts of suburban America, you know, they've been locked down with some space to breathe and move and have the kids in one room. And New York, I mean, everybody's pretty much, you know, as you know, just packed in. I mean, how
each other.
Yeah, I need to move. I need to travel. I need to have that motion to create emotion. So it's been tough for me, but I've been thinking about you guys and people in New York being like, man, you guys are having to do it in much tighter quarters.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is my 15th year. In August will be my 15th year living in New York City. So part of me is adjusted to this life, right? Imagine if you were born and brought up in New York. This is all you know, so you would thinking about, a 3,000 square foot house in Texas, which is
Right.
like the norm, right? Not
Right.
even big, just like the norm. So because I grew up in an environment where I had more space, I do think about that.
Right.
But because I'm accustomed to New York, we make it work. We're used to this a little bit, so it's not as bad. But that said, everything you're saying is absolutely spot on, man. I just getting out of the house, feeling the energy. That's why like living in a small place never bothered me, because I'd spend most of my time outside the house.
Right.
And so not having that connection, not being able to go to clubs and hear great DJs, not being able to DJ for other people, that's been really tough. But I'll tell you what, man, the transition happened to me when I started doing the DJ sets on Instagram Live.
Right. I
And
saw that.
It's been an amazing experiment. I'll say that, because even though you're not with people, just seeing people pop up in the chat and say different things is almost like having the energy of being with your best friend. Not the
Right.
same, but it's almost the energy of having that same feeling. So that's kept me going. That's kept my creative spirit going.
But I would like to say you're one of those like bougie DJs, because like you treated the social IG live like you would at the club, where like you're like, no request please, you got your sign on. But like, man, when I get on IG live and I'm like, yo, what's up, Canal? Like, can you at least give a shout out? Like, what's up, boy? What's up to my boy? Like, I mean, it's IG live, bro. Give me some love. Give us some love. Give the social media fans some love.
You're right. I'm a bougie one.
Exactly.
I'm one of those cats who doesn't have a microphone. I'm a student of the underground / normal in Europe. So yeah, I do it for the artistic nature of playing, music that most people mostly don't know. But that's why I love it, because it's like, give me a chance to inspire other people with something they haven't heard every day. But Cash, I know what you like, and we'll find a reason to party.
Just wave at least. But anyway, man. Well, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get all that, man. That's awesome, and I'm happy that you guys are finding a way to make things work. I'm happy to hear that things are turning the corner in New York. But Kunal, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your personal background and professional journey with everyone. Starting with your first job. Actually, man, starting with back in our time at UT, because that's where we met.
Yeah, I was going to say. It's interesting, man. I was thinking about this today. And so to those of you who don't know Cash's story, I don't know if Cash talks about the frat days, quote unquote frat days, but my freshman year, first semester, I did probably the worst thing you can for someone who's going in as an electrical engineering major at the University of Texas, where our engineering school was top 10 at the time. I decided to rush a fraternity in my fourth day on campus. And, it was the best decision of my life, because I met people like Cash. I met people actually of largely South Asian background who were unlike any of the South Asians who I grew up with in my entire life. I mean,
Right.
While we were all brown, we had incredible diversity amongst all of us. And you had people coming from every different religion, different parts of the world. Largely most people from Texas, but even I didn't know a lot of people from Dallas.
Yeah.
And even different parts of Houston, for that matter. Cash, you grew up in a whole different part of Houston than I did. So
Right.
we had that connection, that diversity. I think that was an interesting part of our initial thing. But what really happened was I walked into one of our boys' house, Wesley and Jake, and the first thing I saw on the left-hand side was some turntables. And I was an 18-year-old kid. I never had the nice turntables. And I got on the turntables, and then I figured out, man, this fraternity, and we were a service fraternity, so we weren't even known as a social, because we gave back to the community. That was our mantra, but we had a lot of fun, obviously. But I was like, man, these guys throw huge parties. I can just DJ their party. And that was my way in. What I realized, Cash, man, I don't know if you thought about this, but our fraternity was less about a fraternity and more like a startup. And it was a very interesting startup because So Kash was on the founding class. So this fraternity at the time was only two years old, or two classes old. So Kash was the founding father, like, so basically, essentially a founder of a startup, right?
Right.
And the founding group has to, they have a vision, so they come together, so we're going to build this thing. Then they get the first class in, the alpha class. That's like your first set of employees, right? So you take kind of who you want, you take some of the cool people, you take some of the people who are your friends. Like the barrier for entry is a little bit different, because you just need to have a proof of concept. You need to bring these people in so that we can say we have more than just us, right? But we were the beta class. We were the class right under that. I would say we were the real first class.
Right.
Because you guys didn't have to have us. You know, like, and the group of people that came together for that first class, we didn't even really know each other. And so that whole thing was like, how do we fit into this organization? This organization is still trying to find its footing, you know, and everything we did was like a startup. We worked as a team. We created things that never existed before. We built relationships all the time that never existed before. I mean, it was a phenomenal experience, because it gave me the initial kind of groundwork, the learning, you know, what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Because we didn't have a lot of fraternities come in with so much backing and money. We had nothing. We would do fundraising like that was our job, you know?
Yep.
And again, we were a service organization, so we did community service events that were for the community. And Kash, you know, as one of the leaders of this organization, always had a vision for the organization where, you know, a lot of people get lost and it's comfortable in where we're at. But Kash always saw, this is where we can be, guys. This is the kind of stuff we can do, and always dream big. And that for me always connected me to Kash, because I always loved that notion that we can do great things with great people. And we have the great people, so why dream small?
Man, you're taking me down memory lane, dude. That was 20 years ago, 21 years ago, when you're talking about when you rushed, and we founded it in 22 years ago, 1998. I can't believe it, but it's so crazy, Kunal, and you said it so well about everything that the fraternity gave us from a foundation standpoint, from a relationship standpoint, from a learning standpoint. And I always gave the fraternity the credit, both internally and externally, in my mind and to other people, about everything that I learned about how to lead and how to build. But I'll be honest with you, like, once I got in, like, to Procter & Gamble and started doing my thing there, and, you know, 10 years, 12 years down the road, you sometimes, like, forget that you did all those things back in the day. You put it so eloquently and so perfectly about what we learned in those days, because honestly, I never thought about that, but of the fraternity as like really the first startup we were all a part of. But it's so true. I used to tell people back in the day, like, I came from the projects of student organizations. I mean, you think about student organizations. We were at the University of Texas. We had a massive Greek community where people paid tens of thousands of dollars a year to be part of fraternities and sororities. Yeah. And we paid 200. Hey, you got 200? Like, all right, pay me in installments. It was $200 to get in.
Yeah, we did have installment plans.
Yeah, we had low barrier to entry. We fundraised through social events. We did service, as Canal mentioned, as our core purpose, to bring people together, bring the community together. And that's honestly been like the heart and soul of my life since then. And I credit everything we did together for that time. And we all were passionate about breaking down barriers and stereotypes and preconceived notions and misconceptions about our community and other communities. Mm-hmm. And then we use social events to fundraise. And obviously Canal was like the headliner for all that stuff. We turned our parties into revenue generating machines, which was awesome.
Their experiences,
Yep. So, I mean, it's so true, man. And when I look back at just the alumni of the fraternity, I mean, we've got Kunal at Facebook, we've got people that have worked at Uber, we've got people that have worked in crypto, we've got people. We had Ty Morshed on the show who's working in Singapore as part of One Championship. We've got people that have worked in the government, ambassadors. We've got people that worked obviously at Fortune 500 companies, great startups. I mean, what's beautiful about what we created, Kunal, and for those of you guys who don't know, Delta Epsilon Psi, we were the first ever South Asian fraternity. And we came together to bring a fragmented community together, and we knew that was phase one. And then phase two, we wanted to connect and outreach to other minority organizations, and that was phase two. And phase three was then to integrate and grow with the whole community at the University of Texas, and honestly now the world, because we've got chapters all over the place now. So it was an amazing experience, Kunal, and you guys were the beta class. You were the first ones, and the part that makes me feel the best is that you guys came in as strangers, and today when I see you and your class of folks being the best of friends, man, I mean, it honestly gives me goosebumps, because that's what it was all about.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? We, in the Greek terminology, you call the recruitment as rushing, right? But we treated it like hiring, right? Again, if you think about the notion of startups, we were very critical about the people that we allowed to even rush. And some people didn't make it through the process to even become in, but we were very critical. And diversity for us, diverse thinking, was a critical cornerstone of our approach to bringing people in. I think that's what the culture of our organization was so critical, and that's because we also wanted different mindsets, different people, right? And I think it's really funny when you think about it now, and the hallmarks of a great organization were the things that we were doing back then. Yeah. And I think about leadership. Like, you talk about leadership, I learned that from those days, man.
Yep. Well, we learned leadership. We learned public speaking. I mean, Kunal,
absolutely.
In high school, when it was days to present, I would literally cut class. I would make up a reason or literally skip school because
my stomach would hurt.
Yeah, my stomach would hurt. I would be sweating like I was at the top of the show. I'd be like sweating and be so scared to speak. And it wasn't until the fraternity, when we were forced to fundraise and meet people and whatever, that I forced myself to be able to go out and speak and try to muster up the courage to to talk to someone, let alone get on a stage. And when I think about where my life and career has evolved, man, it's crazy to think about that it all happened back in those early days on University of Texas campus.
And if I can, I want to take you one step further now, past this journey to the next spot. The next spot, we're still at the University of Texas. Okay, I think you're a senior. I'm a junior.
I don't know, Herbie. You've been wanting these stories.
I'm ready.
Herbie, you've been wanting these stories. I should have known it'd be Canal that takes us into this way.
Canal, don't let me down.
So here's the craziest thing. So Kash, president of fraternity. He was the youngest founding father. So imagine, in the terms of a business, the youngest founder of the organization. Really grew up in front of everyone, was also a star basketball player. I didn't say that, but he'll definitely say he was. Of our team when we played. But then Kash got into the student union and started navigating his way through the politics of the University of Texas, which is thorny bushes, to get in. And Kash grew in influence and leadership within this organization. And one day Kash tapped me and said, "Hey, they're looking for a head of music and entertainment. Why don't you do it?" And I said, "Nah, man, no, they're not gonna go for me." He's like, No, I think you should consider it. I think you should apply for this role. I had no clue about this organization at all, except that Kash was involved in some regard, but I had no clue what they did. So I took Kash's advice. I went and interviewed. I'm sure Kash had already prepped the people and said great things about me and helped my cause. But they interviewed a lot of people for this role. All these people had come in from the organization, right? And they wanted to now be the leader. This is probably a 15-person team.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little bit about what the role does. I ended up winning.
Yeah.
Again, Kash probably, used the influence to help, but I ended up winning and became now the leader of music and entertainment in the University of Texas. Now, this is in 2001, 2002, okay? They gave us a $75,000 budget, and they said, your remit is to bring music and entertainment acts for the University of Texas.
No, you had the dopest job.
To make money.
You had the dopest job. Here's $75,000. Bring talent to the campus.
Bring talent to the campus, and you're doing this for the school, and it's not about making money. Anything you make, that's great. It'll help the budget. You can do more, right? But it's not about making money. I'm like, what? So Kash gave me that Energizer pack and said, go for this. He encouraged me, prepped me for it. I got the role, okay? And I'm talking about this thing has had significant influence and impact on my career and life. And it taught me how to lead, because I had to now lead this group of people who were pissed off at me. Like, who the hell is this guy? You weren't even part of our organization. Now you're the leader? What? And then you have to balance people's opinions and thoughts, because everyone wants to invite their favorite act to the university, right? So our first act that we brought in was the Roots.
Yeah.
The legendary Roots crew, who you see on Jimmy Fallon every night, is the first act that we brought. Well, not only did we bring them in, we brought them to Gregory Gym, which was our on-campus gymnasium. The first time there was a concert ever held there. We brought the Roots crew there. And then it was an incredible year after that, man. But, So, Cash, thank you for that push, brother, because that was and has been one of the most monumental periods of my life, to have that honor to do that role.
Well, man, you give me goosebumps, man. Honestly, I feel even just emotional thinking about it, man, because all these moments and milestones that we collect in our life, as life gets crazy, sometimes we forget, or they just become part of a long trail. And I'm just, I really appreciate you, Kunal, and I really appreciate just the ability and the opportunity to remember all those times, man. Because now I was like, where's Kunal going to go with this? And now I remember that, man. It was the Student Union, Student Event Center. That was that was part of phase 3 of the strategy, integration. Now we were, and it sounds weird. It sounds weird to say, but I'll say it is, the Greek system is pretty segregated. And when you look at campuses, you got the black fraternities, the Hispanic, the Greek system is segregated. You got black fraternities, Hispanic fraternities, white fraternities, and you didn't really you had some East Asian, you didn't have South Asian. So we said, look, let's build this, but here's our plan. We're not building this just to congregate with ourselves. We need to have a base and foundation understanding. We all came from places, Canal and myself came from schools where we had other brown people, but we didn't have people that we connected with. There wasn't enough. At my school, there was 3 brown people in my graduating class, and one was my brother. So my twin brother, Rick, shout out to Rick. So, so we had to come together, and then we started becoming great friends and learning about other cultures, the Asian Americans, African Americans, Hispanic, Latino communities, Latinx communities. And then we said, okay, now we're going to go as a collective to the majority, the Caucasian groups, and say, hey, like, we're here. You can respect us. We have talents to add. We have intellect to share. We have ideas. And that Student Event Center opportunity for me was a huge blessing, because I was the first South Asian to be able to be included in that. And because of that bridge that was enabled by all the work we all collectively did, a great team we had. If you think about our startup, our team was great. And then, when I had that job opening come up for music and entertainment, I was like, we only got one dude on this whole campus of 50,000 people that can do this. And of course, I endorsed Canal. But I mean, endorsement, as we all know, might get you the interview, but it doesn't get you the opportunity. The opportunity is created by what you did in that meeting and what you showed and showcased, Canal. And that's why I'm proud of you. And not only did you bring the Roots, which you talk about, legendary. I remember I have still the poster at home from Chuck D. Chuck D. You brought Chuck D. I got a picture with Chuck D. kneeling, and I got his autograph, and that was one of the early, I think that was like the second or third event that we had. So we brought hip hop and culture to University of Texas.
Culture. Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
But I mean, I think the macro learnings on this, and man, this is why I wanted to be short on the front end, Herb, because I know we can go deep with Canal. The macro learnings on this are, all those moments, those interactions, those opportunities to help and coach people, man, uplift people. They make a difference. They cause a chain reaction, whether we know it or not. And I think that's what's special about everything. And Kunal, I know you've had that impact on so many other people. I will say one of the things that I learned, I definitely learned leadership. And I grew up in the fraternity, as Kunal said. I was the youngest. And when I was the youngest, everybody loved me. When I was vice president, everybody loved me. And the senior that was president, I was a freshman as vice president, you know, and the senior that was president, everyone's like, man, we need somebody like Kash in there. The day I became president, people stopped loving me anymore. It was, I mean, I would say it's 50-50. Kunal, it might be 60% of people didn't like me anymore. Part of it comes with the job and the territory. Part of it was I didn't understand how leadership evolved when you go into that role. And honestly, I was struggling with the fact, how come last semester when I was VP, everybody loved me, and when I became president, there's all this dissension. I could feel it in the room. That's where I started to be able to feel the energy of the room. And because we would have everybody, you know, in a room for our meetings. Yeah. And one of the elder statesmen, and I'll say his name, Canal, because you know it, McCool came up to me after one of our meetings and he was like, man, I want you to know something. I know you have good intentions, but you say I too much. In the meeting, you say I, and that turns people off. It needs to be we. And I got goosebumps, Kunal, when I'm saying it, because when people come into BSB Group and Be Somebody Inc., we have a sheet we give them. And part of it is we are, you know, fill in the blank type of company. And the first one is we are a we company, not an I company. And even if you do it, you say we, because we are all in this together. And it was that moment. It was such a simple thing. And I was 19 years old and I was like, damn it, you know, I'm making this about me, even though my intent is good. It's got to be about we, and we is greater than me. And when I started to understand that, the tone and the engagement and the connection started to come back again. And I've taken that lesson learning with me since then, man. And so many of them, dude. So it's pretty powerful what we all learned together.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout to Moose. That's a great point.
So now we're in the year 2000, man. We got 20 years to go, and we got. I mean, Herbie, we're setting a record. This is going to be a 2-part series, I think. Herbie.
Kunal, what happened your sophomore year at UT?
No, we're gonna leave out all those details in maybe part 2. But so after college, of course, as I mentioned, I could not focus on electrical engineering. And one of our other fraternity brothers, Sunil Radia, who's in the Advertising Hall of Fame.
Right.
Now, literally, we were sitting late night and having food, and he's like, "Hey, why don't you think about advertising?" Because not only did I DJ, I also designed our flyers and stuff like that. He's like, "You're creative. Why don't you think about advertising?" So I went into advertising. I got into the creative portfolio program, studied to be an art director, and I found my passion. And I loved the strategy that went into advertising. I've always loved art, so it was a natural fit. So after college, the dream was to live in New York because that's where the great agencies are. So I moved to New York. I slept on my cousin's couch for 4 months, which is unreal. Just think about that. Like, who lets you sleep on their couch in New York for 4 months? Not only that, he had 2 other roommates. His 2 roommates were 27. They were crushing it, right? So you have 3 27, 28-year-olds in this apartment. They're crushing it in their career, like making tons of money, living life, all single. And they let this 25-year-old kid live on the couch. But we had a great time, and I struggled to find a job, man. The whole dream of going to New York and find that dream job is crazy, man. Because I actually got that dream job. I got that dream job because I wanted to work at a boutique creative agency, right? That's the dream, Kash, as an art director. You don't want to work at some big, you want to work at this small, cool place.
Right.
So I got this job at this place called Walrus, right? And the day I think the pay was at $28,000. Like, it was nothing. And the day before I'm supposed to start, I get a call at 6:30 p.m. And the CEO is like, "Hey, man, we just lost a client. We're not going to be able to bring you on." I mean, crazy, right? How that affects your whole game plan, right? First job, you think you're doing it. So I ended up having to, what I call, settle and get a job at a pharma ad agency. And pharma ad agencies, they're always looking for people. So there's jobs aplenty, and they pay really well, right? So I was like, I got to work. I can't keep on living in these people's couches. I can't ask my parents for money. I gotta go do something. So that was interesting. Because the pharma agency,
Right.
you know, and every time you fail, you actually learn the most. You end up there, and I learned so much because Pfizer was our client. I had to learn everything about the pharmaceutical industry. I had to learn about the regulations. And I realized, like, yeah, this is interesting, but it's not as creative as I wanted it to be. And to me, creativity is not just about art or design. It's about how your brain works. And I didn't find that the challenges were interesting enough. And so a friend tapped me and he's like, hey, we're looking for a designer. We had this startup that's basically trying to be the MTV for India. You know, when people compare things to like different things, but they say for India or like for something else, it's always funny. So I'm like, okay, let me take a look. I went and I met the CEO, and she had a just like hustle mindset. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. You know what? Why not? And the startup culture was starting to creep in New York, right? It was a very Silicon Valley heavy thing, but it started to creep in New York. And this notion of getting shares was a big thing. So I joined this company called Desi Hit. And Desi to the audience is a term to use to basically blanketly describe South Asians. And the couple that started it were from the UK. They'd moved over. They had raised $7 million to start this startup. And talk about learning. Man, this was an incredible experience for me. I started out as a designer. I ended up leaving, 2 years later as the head of brand strategy and marketing for the company. In my time in this company, while I think we were a little bit ahead of our time, we did a great job of creating content that spoke to the kids like myself and Kash who, come from the South Asian diaspora, but are brought up on hip hop and pop and R&B. Right? You mentioned Jay Sean before. Jay Sean is literally the poster child for what we were trying to do. In fact, people thought we worked for Jay Sean.
Right.
And so in that time, I had an opportunity to bring South Asian culture to some of your favorite artists. I spent time with Lady Gaga. I spent time with T.I. I went to T.I.'s studio in Atlanta, and we brought a harmonium player, which is like an Indian version of Indian keyboard. We brought a harmonium player into T.I.'s studio. This is before he was going to jail. And we taught him how to play this harmonium, right? We went to the Gym Class Heroes concert in Arizona and taught him how to play some Indian Village games. We did crazy things because our whole thing was like, let's bring the best of India to this culture, this music that we love so much, man. It was a hell of a ride. We dressed the Pussycat Dolls for the Grammys in saris. Like that kind of stuff, man. That's what dreams are made of. Amazing. But like at the time, it was a struggle. The reality was like it was hard. It was a lot of hard days, hard nights. But it really set me on this path where I learned so much about startup culture and fell in love. And one thing led to the next. After this company, I actually went to go work with Jay Sean, launched his album in America. That was a huge hit. That was amazing for me. I think one thing we learned in the frat, again, coming back to the influence of this frat, is that there's a beautiful thing about our culture being Indian and Pakistani and Bangladeshi and anyone from our background is that, we're like everyone else, but people don't see us that same way, right? They see us as maybe doctors and lawyers, or even worse, in worse cases, as we talk about racism and culture right now, like we all experience all this stuff. So we wanted to shed a light that there's a lot more of us that do a lot of these other things, these other professions that you may just not know about, or more so we care about it, right? We care about that culture.
A lot of times celebrities and people of the highest net worth and people that are on television regularly get credit for the barriers that they break. Particularly when it comes to race and culture and opportunity. And the reality is the people that are on the ground, on the front lines, that are really doing the breaking of those barriers are people like you. People who, when we were growing up, there was nobody doing like Desi Hit's manager brand strategy. That wasn't a thing. It wasn't in our community. We had no role models. We didn't have anyone to look up to. There was no precedent or path that was set. And we had to do it on our own. And you had to do it on your own. And now when I see a lot of people doing that, like I'm always like, you guys, man, you don't know. And if you don't know, you need to know the OGs who came before you to enable a lot of this, to make it okay. It's not just the people that you see on sitcoms now, or that aren't having comedy shows, or that are out there. It's the people that have built this from the ground up for a long time, so that it becomes customary and expected for South Asians to be a part of industries like this.
That's what we do. We try to open doors for other people who are like us and who care about things that we care about, right? And that's really what it comes down to. I feel like the responsibility that we have. Like my cousin let me sleep on his couch, right? That's my responsibility to do something else for someone else, right? Cash, you opened the door to Student Union. You brought me in, right? So it's that nature that we have to do it. It's our responsibility. Yep. And to be honest, even working at that company, I felt it was a responsibility to many people like us who grew up like us. I didn't feel like I was doing it for me. I felt like I was doing it for us, right? Just people, we want people to see us in that same way. I won't go into the depths of our partying, Cash, but like we love music. Music is so core to who we are. You just gotta keep going. You don't know when the dream is gonna hit, man. You just gotta keep believing and keep going.
Oh man, that's the heart and soul of Be Somebody, man. Keep going. The resilience to keep going. The sacrifice, struggle, suffer, succeed. And, I'd actually just posted something recently on social media that everybody sees the rise and everybody sees the fall, and when you're rising, everybody's high-fiving you, telling you you're great. When you're falling, everybody's kicking you when you're down. That's what happens, and I've experienced it. But only a select few. And I said a select unselected few, because you don't really know who those people are going to be. You really don't. And lots of times your hypotheses on who those people are going to be are wrong. But a select, unselected few know all the work that goes in between those rises and falls. And that's when the magic happens, man. People grind and grind for years and years and years to make that little dream come true. And then they go try to get a bigger dream. And that's the beauty of it.
Now, Cash, when did Be Somebody launch?
I launched the blog. I launched the blog on January 11th, 2011.
Okay. So it's still a little bit of time. So during this time in my journey, you're at Procter & Gamble.
Yep. I'm a P&G.
You're getting your incredible business school education, and then from a P&G. This is when you're building your foundation at the same time.
Yeah. Well, because you're at 2009. So actually, at this time, this is a pivotal moment for both of us, Kunal. Because at 2009, P&G created a role for me to lead marketing, social marketing, digital marketing, and developing markets. So basically, I had been campaigning for the opportunity. I had been campaigning for a global assignment. I wanted to be international. They said, look, you got to be based in Cincy, but you're going to travel the world 80% of the time. We're going to put you on 5 continents, and you're going to go in and drive our strategies. And that opportunity changed my life. And that was the birth of Be Somebody, being in all these different cultures, low-income cultures, Middle East, Africa, Asia. And you, as a good friend of mine, saw that come to life, because those people inspired me and the opportunities inspired me. And so Be Somebody started to grow during that 2009 to 2011. And 2011 is when I tried to package it and make it something.
Right on. And at that time for me, I had gone to an agency, and then I started my own agency after that. And I just felt this like, we had a couple client opportunities, and we just decided, let's start a small little shop. And while I had this shop, this other entrepreneur, actually he's from Ohio, came up and said, and he knew me from Desi Hit Space. He's like, hey, I'm starting this Indian fashion company. Come run marketing. And so after some back and forth, I ended up going to do it. And this company was called Exclusively In. And this is the time where the Guild Group, you guys remember Guild Group and this notion of, what is it called? Basically retail, where you had exclusive time periods to buy products, And so we just
Almost
mirrored
exclusive,
exactly what
basically like digitizing the sample sale concept.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so exclusively in, which was India, again, this connection is how do we bring our culture to the mainstream was always a big thing for me, right? And so we built this site exactly also Guild Group, but just had Indian fashion. Now, if you know anyone that's Indian, the only way you would get Indian clothes is by going to India, right? Or some places in Jersey or these small boutiques in
Hillcroft, bro.
City,
Hillcroft in Houston, Texas. Shout out to Hillcroft.
Exactly. But for weddings and stuff, people go back to India. Literally every year is part of the thing to go. So we're like, we could bring it to you guys.
Yep.
And the funniest realization we had, this is funny about our people, is we were using, Facebook, and this is why I was, passionate about social media advertising. At the time you could do Google search ads, you could do display ads and things like that. And I walk in my first day in the company, and our CTO was like, "Hey, we got to do search ads. Let's get going." And I'm like, "No, we should do Facebook ads." And I convinced him to let me run Facebook ads exclusively. And the reason why is on Facebook, you can target by interest, not by the typical ways you would target before. And what we ended up doing, our biggest boost in marketing was we realized as Indian people, what we care more about is what non-Indian people think. So we targeted the movie Eat, Pray, Love. Eat, Pray, Love, if you guys remember Julia Roberts' movie to India, based off this, award-winning book. And this whole culture of Eat, Pray, Love was basically non-Indian people who are into yoga and different things like that. And we grew a huge non-Indian fan base that were buying our clothes. Like the head of New York Fashion Week was involved in what we were doing. We had designers coming to us all the time. I mean, it was my first real foray into fashion, so it was really interesting. But we built this e-commerce site that was phenomenally successful. And this company called Tiger invested in us. And they said, "Hey, we want you to bring this to India." And so basically the flip, like, we want you to bring this technology to India. And so there was a time period where I almost moved to India. So while you were traveling around the world, Cash, I was going back and forth to India, where we had built a 300-person team. We were building our own clothes. And I ended up deciding not to do it because I actually, this agency I created was starting to blow up. And so then I said, you know what? I appreciate the opportunity, but I want to go focus on what I'm doing. And so me and my buddy Safe, we continued the agency. And, again, just through another serendipitous connection, we met these guys who had very strong industry agency connects. They had sold an agency to Omnicom, which is one of the largest holding companies. And we ended up partnering with them. And this was the birth of basically the last startup I was at, this company called 4C. 4C.
Well, Canal,
Canal,
one thing on that is, I know we're into like 2013, 2014 of your journey, but one of the common themes that I'm seeing, hearing, and feeling, and also experience from the outside is your innate ability to build relationships. I mean, you're throwing out these connections and you say we made these people, but not everybody can do that, man. Like the fact that you're able to meet people, connect and rap with people no matter where they come from, their background, their gender, their age, their race, all of that. How have you been able to do that?
It's kind of you to say, man. I love people. I love people. I love people who are passionate about building business and helping others. I mean, to me, when you meet someone and they have something about them, a spark in their eye, they're inspired, they want to go create something that's meaningful for the world, that inspires me. And I just want to surround myself with that, And so anytime I can meet someone that I feel that is looking to do more for others, that's an instant connection. So I was going to say this before, Cash, because I think we have this thing about us in common where we have always been about the experience, the opportunity and experience. And that's what I was saying about you and P&G. That was like, quote unquote, your business school training because you went there and learned, and you're still learning in your current role. and I'm still learning in my role. And I just feel like we're always students. And so if I can learn from someone else, I will always build a relationship to learn from someone else.
I just had a debate last week with one of our senior directors, and I said, hey, I know you're an expert, but you got to keep learning. If you've hit the peak, if this is it for you, then we have failed. We have failed because like you got our opportunity, and what should drive us is to keep getting better. And as soon as that bar comes within reach, we got to push it higher. And that's the best way that we grow, and that's how we make the greatest impact.
I love seeing how experimental you guys are. Like you guys try different things at different moments of the journey, and I just love it because I'm like, wait, what's going on here? These guys have gone from arena to arena to arena, and are hosting events at like all these amazing basketball arenas, and I'm like, Kash has a strategy here that I don't know what's going on, but it looks good to me, and then that's, I feel like every year you guys evolve. You evolve, you learn, you evolve. Some things work, some things don't work. Look at this podcast. This podcast, you guys have spun up together, and it's probably been going for a while now, but like the fact is you're already in the top 10 in so many global markets. Right. Like, how did that happen? Because you did it.
I was just talking to our team today, and I always say there's a fine line between genius and idiot. And I do believe that winning is going for it. It's not the wins and losses. It's having the courage to go for it. And at this company and be somebody in our sister company at BSB, we definitely go for it. Sometimes we don't win, but if we put in the effort, and we always say if we feel 10 out of 10 that we did everything that we could to do great work, then we feel great no matter what the outcome is. And sometimes when you win, like we had a strategy that we did with one client that did not work, and we got the idiot label. And then we believed in that strategy, and we did it again with another client, and we knocked it out of the park, and we got the genius label. And this is within weeks, weeks and months. And it was the perfect case study, man, because you just got to believe in what you're doing. Everything that we've been able to do has been strategic. And there's people that are very savvy like you who are able to, even from the outside, connect the dots and know that something is brewing or something that's, how things fit together. A lot of other people are like, what the hell are these guys doing jumping around? But man, we've been following the scent. We've been following the breadcrumbs and creating our own breadcrumbs. And sometimes it's worked, and if it does, we double and triple down. We go pedal to the metal when it works, and when it doesn't, we get out quick. And that's been the secret.
Great. So there's two things I've learned in my time at Facebook. There's two things I've learned. One, experimentation is critical to growth. You can never stop experimenting. It's to your point, Kash, you can never stop learning. You can never stop experimenting. And Kash, the way you described that exactly right. You're going to try something. If it doesn't work, let's get out. Let's try something else. If it works, let's double down. Right? That's how you buy media these days. That's the game. The second part is, the notion that as a company, you'll only grow from your missteps. If you guys won 100% of the time, you would not be growing. Something would be wrong. Yep. We have this thing called 50-50 goals, right? And so basically that means that we're starting knowing that we're going to fail on 50%. Because you're going to learn the most from those failures. Yep. Right. And then I'd say the last thing I've learned is being on the product side is the notion of product market fit. Right. And that is what you just described, Kash. In a moment in time, that client wasn't the right product market fit for that strategy you guys had. But you know what? The next one was. Right. And you know what? You can't let the first one deter you, because it could just be about timing. It could be about the specific client. It could be a lot of variables there. Right. You got to understand what variables come with your strategy and ensure that's the right fit. It's like that whole notion of putting a square peg into a round circle. They don't fit sometimes, but doesn't mean your idea is bad, right? Yeah. So I'm sure you've gone through a lot of those different growing pains, but they're growing pains. They're not like failure.
Yep. Failure is our greatest teacher. For sure. And I think that, sometimes, Kunal, the crazy part is, even if you line everything up perfectly, there's a few things that you can't control. The character of the person across from you, the emotion of the person across from you, the climate, the pandemic. I mean, there's so many things that happen in our lives, that you just got to, what I tell my team, we got to take the hit. And what does take the hit means? It means take the punch, feel the sting, learn from feel it, learn from what it taught you, and keep going. You know me for a long time, man, and I've been on a journey, and I had to be humbled, bro. I had to be humbled, and life put me on a path to be humbled, because I had a good amount of wins in my life. I had a few losses early on, but I was in a place where things were working out. And it wasn't until I started to get humbled by losses, and some of them on very, very big stages, that enabled me to have the humility to see as clear as I needed to see in order to make the right decisions moving forward, man. And for me, that's been the biggest blessing, because, it's painful at times, man, but like those learnings that come when you get knocked out, like that is when you really learn the most, if you are willing to pick yourself up and keep going.
Yeah, I keep going.
And Kunal, we got to talk about 4C and Facebook, but I just want to say, like, I was thinking about leaving GoPro. I think we were in. I have a feeling we were in Soho, New York. I met with you.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
We were outdoors, like having a couple drinks, eating. You were there. Ty was there, and I was like, man, like GoPro's about to IPO. There's a lot of money on the line here, but I'm feeling this burning desire to go pursue this thing called Be Somebody. And you were one of the people, and there's a few people that I can count on one hand that I talked to about this that influenced me, and you were one of them, Kunal. And you said, go for it, bro. Like, I believe in it. I believe it can be something. I want you to go for it. And it still gives me goosebumps to this day. Hopefully you remember that moment, man. But you were one of the people.
I remember it, bro. I remember it. I mean, look, I've been a fan of your journey the whole time, and you were leaning anyway. It's not like we convinced you. We just pushed you. We just give you a nudge. You were already falling off the cliff, as your early video talks about. But but that you were ready, man. We just had to give you a little bit of nudge that you should do it. And again, all of your stops on your journey have been training. So you went from P&G, which is like, literally, if you go work at P&G and you spend the time that you have and you travel like you did for that organization, you have the foundation that very, very few people have. The way they build brands is unreal. And you learn that, and you learn the strategy. And then you went to GoPro, which was like, at the time, unheard of. Unheard of for you to go to such a, small startup. You moved to San Francisco. You did that. You were with them for the IPO, and then you said, you know what, it's my time. And then the crazy thing about GoPro is that you were having a conversation with their CEO too at the time about the same thing. And so, it would be a little bit critical of him to even say, no, you shouldn't, right? And he even gave you the blessing you should go do it. So like, you think about all of that, and all we had to do was be friends. And to be not those people who said, well, why are you doing it? Why are you doing that? Why don't you need stability? Don't you? No. I'm like, no, Kash, just go. Just go. You're already there. And so I don't think we did much. I think we were just your friends that were just telling you what you needed to be told at that time. But you knew what to do, man.
Yeah.
Here we are.
I appreciate that, man. I always appreciate that. That was one of the milestone and momentous moments in the journey. But okay, Kunal, we're at 4C, Executive Vice President, Marketing and Partnerships. Kunal's journey, Herbie. I mean, there's not many people that can compete.
I think we're on part 3 at this point.
With this journey. So 4C, Kunal.
4C. So 4C was, again, another situation, startup that we built from ground up, went through a lot of amazing times. One of our highlights at 4C was we had a relationship with Publicis, another massive advertising agency, a partnership, and they were going in for a pitch for Walmart. And, you know, at the time, Walmart's probably number one in the game in terms of ad spend. And there was a pitch. And Facebook even suggested, this is when I, you know, wasn't at Facebook. So Facebook suggested to Walmart, hey, you should work with these types of partners. And Publicis put us up. And people were like, who are these guys? Like, no one knew about us. And because Saif and I had this agency background, we knew social media, we had done it for such a long time, we ended up beating everyone. And Cash, you know this, but like they had this thing called Bake Off, where they put all these companies head to head, and whoever has the best performance on a test gets the next round. And there was like 3 Bake Offs, and finally we won that. And when we won that, Publicis signed us to a 2-year exclusive agreement. That means that we couldn't work with any other agency, just Publicis. And that was the greatest thing for us as a small company.
And how many employees at the time did you guys have?
I mean, 14 or something like that. You know, like it was crazy. So we won the Walmart business. They signed us to exclusive. And what that did is give us the freedom to actually focus on product and not focus on growth, because we knew the sales were going to come in through Publicis as one of the large agencies. And now we've, you know, that company now is 300 people, a global company. You know, I left there 5 years ago, because again, I felt my journey to learn, had hit a point where I wanted to learn differently. And I had learned through startups my whole time, but also during this whole time, I had leveraged Facebook for growth my entire career. I was like that small fish swimming next to the giant whale and seeing that whale grow from a small whale to a giant whale. And I was like that whale's friend that was the number one supporter. And I've seen Facebook do so much good for businesses, right?
Right.
And, you know, over this time, I had met some people at Facebook. One of my best friends, that Cash knows very well, Cyril, was at Facebook at that time. And so I decided to hop the fence. I decided, you know what, now I want to go work at Facebook. And part of the reason was I just had my son, and I was the only person who at 4C who had a kid. And I went to Facebook for a conference, and I was in a room full of 300, like, you know, men, because it was mostly an engineering conference. And Sheryl Sandberg was on stage. Sheryl Sandberg was the COO of Facebook. And one of the guys asked her, he's like, so how do we ensure that women feel comfortable at our companies? And Sheryl, in her brilliance, answered very clearly. She said, simple. All you do is you tell any employee that's a woman of yours, and say, if you want to have a kid, I'll support you. That's all you need to do. And I just, you know, had my son. We had no paternity leave. You know, people are like, when you come back to work, like, all, you know, and she just like very clearly laid out what you could do to give women a sense of that, you know, that they're respected in this environment. And literally, I had tears coming down my cheek. I was thinking about my wife who had no maternity leave, and she works in an office full of women. And I said, I want to work for a company that thinks of people like that, thinks of humans like that, thinks of their employees like that. And right there, I told my future boss, I was like, I want to come work for Facebook. What do we do? And so I was fortunate enough to get the job in 2015. And now I've been at the company for 5.5 years. And it's been the best working experience of my entire career.
Why has it been the best experience?
On so many levels. So one, as we talk about learning, right? There are, one of my old mentors used to tell me, he's like, you can work at a small company and you get to play with small toys. If you work at a big company, you get to play with the big toys. And that's kind of how it is as a company like Facebook. Even when I joined the company, was in a good spot, not nearly where it's at today, but it was in a good spot. And I got to work with I've had the opportunity to work with the best people I've ever worked with in my career. Everyone's incredibly smart and kind. Two, I think the trajectory of the company, during the time I've been there, we've seen so many ups and downs, but it has been phenomenal to see the leadership, and just the way we've thought through problems and how we tackle problems, which is a team first mentality. Which then brings me to that third point, which you guys have heard me talk about my career, which has been all about startups and that team culture, and working together as a unit to go solve problems. That mentality still applies to Facebook. My job is tremendously autonomous. We have goals, but it's my job to figure out how to get to the goals. I get to work with literally the largest agencies in the world right now, and helping them think about their business and how we can help them grow their business through our advertising products. And no one sits over my back and says to me, "Why are you doing that?" People trust you. They believe in you. They give you the opportunity. And what all that does is give you the more opportunity to grow as an individual, as a person, as a professional. So I couldn't take any of that for granted. And even for the ups and downs the company goes through, I think the people make this place incredibly remarkable.
It's so interesting, Kunal. I mean, you're similar to me, where you've had the blessing and the opportunity to work at all types and sizes and genres of companies. You know, I got the big multinational Fortune 20 company experience at Procter. I got the fast growing startup at GoPro. And then I, was blessed to be able to build my own company. Now we got two companies here, and you've kind of been on a similar track, just kind of reversed, because you started with the startups and now you're on the bigger company. And I always feel that understanding of all the toys, because you talked about the small toys and big toys, but being able to understand all sizes of toys and being able to operate all of those toys, and really being able to understand the differences between cultures that are necessary at those types of companies is such a powerful skill, man. It's such a powerful skill, and most people aren't blessed with the opportunity to have it. Because when I think about like some of the things you're talking about that you needed at your life, at that life stage, that a startup couldn't give you. But I always tell my team, the goal is autonomy. The goal is I don't have to get involved in anything that you're doing.
Yeah.
That is the vision. Yeah. That's what we're trying to build. But what we're trying to do now is build the work ethic, the habits, the principles, the values, the modus operandi to make sure that you're able to do that.
It's critical. It's critical what you're talking about. You got to build. That's part of your culture also. You got to build that training mechanism. That because that allows you to work as a unit. That's what's core about what you guys are doing. And that's what I love to see, man. Culture is what you're building. Right. And you've always been a culture first person, and it comes back to where we started our journey. And it's about two things. It's about the people and the common shared goal. And if you have that, and if you have the people are committed to that shared goal, then you can win. And when you lose, guess what? Those same people are going to pick you up and you can try again the next day. If you don't have that, what's the point? What's the point? Like, I was never good at sports like you, Cash, but I love sports for the fact that it was about the team first.
Right.
And I'm sure like you, I've studied Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan relentlessly because I want to know what made them great. And when people talk about how they were so hard on their teammates, things like that, I laugh. I'm like, I love that.
Me too, man.
They're about getting everyone aligned on what it takes to get to this goal. And they knew what it was, even when they hadn't experienced it themselves. They knew they had the vision, right? We talked about vision at the very beginning. You had the vision to get there. You maybe not know how to get there, but you have the vision. We're going to get there, right? And so, man, I love what you guys are doing because you are creating something very special. But again, it starts with the team and the culture.
Man, I push the hell out of my team. I push the hell out of my team and sometimes into uncomfortable places. But I always tell them it's because I believe in them. And there's a couple of reasons. I'll tell you a quick story. When I was in high school, I was in basketball. I was, playing. I was one of the better players on our team, and I was trying to be great. I wasn't mentally where I needed to be, though. If I was mentally stronger, I would have had a better basketball career in high school and college. But My coach used to always be on me because I think he knew if I could get my head right, I could be more dangerous. And he would yell at me and yell at me and yell at me. I mean, every practice. And finally, I cracked one day and I was like, God damn it, coach. Like, why you always yell at me? And everything. He's like, get in my office, And he pulled me in his office, shut the door, and he was like, let me just tell you something. There's only 2 times when I don't yell at somebody. He said, it's either you're doing it perfect or I gave up on you. And he said, and nobody's perfect. And that still to this day, when we talk about Kunal, what we talked about, the milestones and learnings and moments that we had in college that shaped us and enabled us to get to where we are, that was one of those moments for me, bro, where I was like, damn, like he believes in me. He believes in me. And that's why he's pushing me. And then I swear to God, Kunal, the next day when he was screaming at me, I was so happy, man. I felt good. I felt so good. And I was like, I'm so happy that someone believes in me. And that's the mentality that I've taken since then. And when I believe in people, man, I push the hell out of them because I never want anyone to leave anything on the table. I want to leave everything on the floor. That's so important. And when I think about what you just talked about, Kobe and Michael Jordan, I know you watched The Last Dance like I did, and the moment that brought me to tears, they were asking Michael about how he pushed people and how teammates said he was too hard or whatever, and he said, I just wanted people to play the game the right way. There's only one way to play the game. And if you didn't want to play like that, like that's fine. Yeah. But you couldn't do it with me. And he was so emotional about it, of just people playing the game the right way. Man, that hit me, bro. That hit me so hard because I really understood. And obviously I'm not trying to say I'm Michael Jordan. I'm just trying to say I understood that emotion of just trying to play the game the right way and wanting to be around people who value that opportunity to do that.
Man, couldn't say it better, man. It's one of those things, man. The tough love approach is always hard because in the moment it doesn't feel good. Mm. But just like failure, you learn the most from that. When you when you see someone who believes in you enough to ride you like that, that just shows that they if they didn't care, they wouldn't push you, Right. And I think we've had all different types of managers. And I'll tell you what, I would rather have a hard manager than a manager that doesn't talk to me. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge difference, but the journey is the journey, and it's what you make of it. And it comes down to how much you want to learn and grow. And that's what I would tell people right now is chase growth. Especially with everything going on in the world right now, man, you can just see how life is so fragile. How we don't know what tomorrow brings. So while you're here, why not do something that makes you uncomfortable? Mm-hmm. Because when you're uncomfortable is when you grow and then you learn. Like, can you imagine, Kash, you were in Africa, you were like literally in places that you may not even known existed when you were at P&G, but right. You just got on the plane. You're like, this is going to be fun. I'm just going to get on the plane and see what happens, and then you get addicted to that feeling, right? That feeling of new. I want a new place. I want to go somewhere I've never been before, because you realize when you do that, you learn the most.
Yep.
But if you never got on that first plane or never applied for that job or, you might have never left Houston, right? You wouldn't have grown and expanded. And I've seen some of my best friends change dramatically as human beings because they moved from the comfort zone to a different place. And it's remarkable what this world has to offer. We just have to allow ourselves to be part of it.
So well said, man. So well said. Kunal, we could talk to you for hours. Herbie, we could talk to Kunal for hours. I think Kunal has made the list of reoccurring guests. Man, we could talk to you forever, Kunal.
You guys have the ability to help so many people. Forget the companies that they work at. People right now as they navigate these very, very difficult times. They need your help. They need your guidance. They need your experience. They need your support to get through these hard times. And if you can stretch to help people right now, that effort, even if it doesn't come with the dollars that you need right now, will pay off in dividends in the future. I promise you right now. People need
100%.
your guidance and your wisdom. And I'm just saying, man, just think about the people whose jobs are on the line that may be frustrating to work with because they don't get what you guys know. Help them, coach them along this way. Be their partners. I'm telling you, you will change their lives. And then you guys will win in the long term because this time is unreal, unprecedented. But you guys are set up to help so many businesses right now. And you've already proven that. So I'm a fan. If I can help and support you guys in any way, let me know. But keep on doing the great work. I see you guys thriving, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you so much, man. So well said. And we will double down on that directive from you. And the biggest blessing of this pandemic has been the opportunity to connect and reconnect with people like you, and for us to be able to do our small part to help out. And man, I love that call to action, and thank you for that, bro. I'm proud of you too, man. Beta class coming up from DE Sci, making moves, making it happen. I'm proud. We made a good pick, good selection. And I can't wait to see you again soon, man. Much love
Thanks,
to the
guys.
family. Much love to Charlie, the Golden Doodle.
So wait, real quick before I go, man. What happened to your golden doodle? What happened?
Man,
We're
my
all asking, Kunal. We're all asking.
I said, all I know is I had a beautiful golden doodle, full afro, as requested, I got from a farm in Kentucky. I dropped him off at the groomer, and when he returned, he came back like a freaking Martian. He had aged 90 years. I still feel uncomfortable talking to him. When he looks at me, I don't feel good about the looks he's giving me, and I'm just waiting for the hair to grow out, bro.
Listen, let me tell you some advice on this one, all right? So I have, a standard size, so big golden doodle, right?
Right.
In the times we used to get him cut, the barber would cut him like a straight up poodle. So like all puffy on the top, his tail would come back like a feather. Like it was all messed up. And the dog would know. The dog would come and look at us like he was so embarrassed.
Yeah. Yes.
And I saw your dog. Your dog has that same look. He's he feels uncomfortable. Man. He feels uncomfortable. He knows.
My dog lost his swagger. Completely. He had this energy about him. He had this swag about him. When he came back, he just looked at me like, I don't feel confident about myself anymore. I feel insecure. I don't know like who I am, what I am. Like he's down in the fucking dumps, bro.
Cash, I've been there I've been there from that stage, bro. I know you felt the same way. Okay, so just all you can do for him is make sure that he knows he's loved, and you got to give him those rubs and make sure he feels good. But my advice is the next time you take him, you got to have a picture and be like, this is what he needs to look like. Yeah. And he's got to get trimmed. He's got to get cleaned up. But do not cut him like that. Like, it looks like he just came off the streets. This is a beautiful dog. I mean, he looked like he was,
He was assaulted. I mean, he was straight up assaulted. He was abducted and assaulted, and he feels it. He looks at me with like sad, deep, dark eyes now, and he's and I'm gonna try to do my best to like bring that back with the hair growth.
Well, you just got to make him feel loved right now. And I see your other dog. Your other dog is just picking at him right now. It's like, I see you now.
Yeah, love is like, man, I knew it. I knew you was nothing. I knew you were a scrawny little thing. Man, Kunal, thank you so much, bro. I love you, bro. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you again soon, man. Thank you so much for your insight and your passion, and I can't wait to talk to you soon, brother.
All right, guys. Take care. Thank you to the whole team. Appreciate you.
Man, Herbie, Kunal's another person that I could have talked to for hours, man.
It was so great just hearing him tell all these old stories. I keep waiting for the embarrassing one, but he's got just the utmost respect for you and what you've obviously done to impact his life, and it was just so cool to hear that.
It was one of those things, man, with when Canal bringing back the fraternity days. It's been so long since I've thought about those times, and the further you get removed from different experiences, the farther they go in, obviously, the rearview mirror of your life. You start to forget that those were the formative things that shaped you. But Kunal brought it back in such an eloquent way with the early days, and it shaped me and it shaped him.
I love hearing those stories. It's always so great to connect with all these amazing people, from your past, from your college days that you've just stayed in contact with over the years. So just wonderful to talk to them. And on that note, Kash, what's the one big thing?
I think that's it, Herbie. I think it's just the realization that there are small moments in our life that we often overlook, that at many times pass us by, that make such a powerful impact on people. We get so caught up in the day-to-day, in the grind, and everything that we're doing, and those experiences pile on. But if we're doing it right, and if we're making sure that it's bigger than us, and we're trying to serve, we're trying to help, we're trying to give, we affect people along the way. And we affect them in ways that we don't even understand. And we become that person or that moment or that milestone that puts them on the path that they're meant to be on. And that's pretty powerful, man. And every single one of us has that opportunity to be that person for somebody. It doesn't take a lot. All it takes is genuine care and concern and belief. Whether it's my coach in high school who yelled at me but believed in me, whether it was my mom who always pushed me to do better, or whether it was the folks in my fraternity back in 1998 who gave me the opportunity to lead as a freshman in college. Those are the moments that shape us, man. And that's pretty powerful.
Wow, Kash. Perfectly said. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
And thank you for listening to the Be Somebody podcast. Be sure to check out besomebody.com for the full audio and video experience, or listen and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get yours. We out.